Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really, really glad to have this young lady back. It's Dr. Maria Ryan. She is a healthcare expert. She is also a great commentator, an incredible talk show host. Don't tell anybody, but when she's on with Rudy Giuliani, the ratings are much higher. And Maria, it's for good reason. Your knowledge is amazing. Good to see you again. How are you?
It's great to see you. It's great to be on your show. You're the number one show. We love you, Joe.
Thank you so much. I'm not the number one show when I look at the ratings of you and Rudy on the weekends at WABC. But thank you for saying that. So much has changed since we spoke last. And it wasn't that long ago, and we talk in between too. But so much has changed because the left in this country wants us to believe the science changed. It's interesting, Maria, because the things that you talk about are fact. They're scientific fact. They are health administration fact. We talked about the laying off of all those healthcare workers last time. And now the left wants us to believe everything's changed. We can start getting rid of mask mandates, start getting rid of vax mandates. Let me just ask you a simple question. Has the science really changed, or is this political science?
This is political propaganda. Yeah. I feel like the only reason they're changing right now is simply because of the midterms, and they know they're polling terribly. If we didn't have midterms this year, they would continue to abuse our civil liberties. From the beginning of this pandemic, I spoke out against cloth masks.
Right.
And it's not because I want to be argumentative. If I thought cloth masks and science proved they're effective, I'd be glad. I'd be telling all my patients, I would be telling everybody you need to wear these masks outside.
Right.
But the data, the science has been there pre-pandemic that cloth masks just don't work, even if they're tightly woven, because of the micron level of the coronavirus is so small, it gets through the mask. So it's basically wearing no mask. Now you can layer cloth masks,
right,
but you have to wear so many layers. Basically, it would suffocate you.
It's Dr. Maria Ryan. Well, I want to stop you there because we should have known, shouldn't we? Maria, from the very beginning, Dr. Fauci himself said on 60 Minutes, everybody walking around with a mask on would be silly. And then he said, if you socially distance 6 to 8 feet apart, you don't need masks. If you're closer than that, you need masks. We took that to mean, okay, we're still pretty safe. And then suddenly you wear a mask all the time. Now we see dorks who are swimming by themselves in pools wearing masks and driving down the road by themselves wearing masks. It's all so weird. But we should have known when they said things like, you can go to the bar, but you have to close the bar by 10 o'clock. That meant coronavirus only liked 10 o'clock. You can wear a mask, but it should be an N95. But don't wear an N95 because the healthcare workers need those. So don't go to the bar, but do go. The whole thing was crazy. Then who was essential? Who wasn't essential? We as a population should not have fallen in line. Maybe we should have just been a little more skeptical, no?
I think we should have. And what really discourages me as a healthcare professional, spending 30 years of my life trying to make healthcare better for people, it was really discouraging to me because physicians, nurse practitioners that I respected started saying, what do you mean masks? No, we can't have anybody say masks don't work.
Right.
Everyone's got to wear the mask. And they saw the research. They know the research that's been around pre-pandemic. And it just, you know what, if my patients would feel better wearing a mask, that's fine. But I couldn't lie to them, and that's a strong word, but I couldn't say, hey, wear this mask. It's going to prevent you giving or getting coronavirus, because that's a lie. I could say, you know what, if it makes you feel better, wear it. But I'm an educator. All providers are educators, and we need to educate our people with the science and the facts and let them make their own decisions.
It's drmariaryan.com. Go there, drmariaryan.com. What you just said is so very important. That's the big sin of this entire thing. You know, we're going to find out eventually where it came from. I think the lab. We're going to find out why it got out, who's behind it, who's making money, and all that stuff. But the biggest sin is telling you and other healthcare providers you cannot properly deal with your patients. You cannot properly and scientifically and medically tell somebody some solid advice based on fact because you might be canceled. That was the fear from the beginning. The FDA, Fauci, Birx, right down the line, they were all going to cancel you if you dared say what you just said. These cloth masks don't really do anything. They're a placebo. And now we're finding out that if you have a mask on and I don't, you don't have to fear from me. For 2 years, we've heard that everybody and their mother has to wear a mask or else we're all going to die on the spot. So That's the one thing they did, right, Doc? They actually said, Maria, if Pags is your patient, you cannot tell him the truth. You've got to toe the line that we're saying you toe, or else you're in trouble.
I even talked to residents at an Ivy League college medical school who said that they get pressured into saying the company line, the Fauci line, the administration line, and they don't feel good. They go home and they don't feel good about themselves because they can't talk about hydroxychloroquine. They can't talk about ivermectin. They can't talk about masks. It's really a sad day for healthcare because we've become political.
In 30 years, had that ever happened before where there was a political issue that somehow told you how to diagnose? Even if you knew the diagnosis was wrong, you better do it or else you lose your livelihood.
No, never. Never, never, never. We get guidelines from different professional groups or the government, but it was always per provider discretion how you treat your patient. And I have a caveat for your audience about N95 masks. Those are the best masks, but here's the caveat. It's called N95 because it blocks 95% of the particles leaving your mouth. So that's good percentage, right?
Yeah,
95%
right.
particles. Here's the thing. It has to be fitted to work. In the hospital setting, we all get an N95 mask and it's fitted. And how do we fit it? A big hood goes over your head with that mask on.
Okay.
Somebody sprays different chemicals in the mask. And if you could still taste or smell, that N95 doesn't work well. And I can tell you, I had a hard time getting one to fit my face for whatever reason.
Right.
I continued to taste the chemicals. I had to get one that was so small and tight on my face, it left marks. But that's what I needed to stop that 95% of particles leaving the mask. So it's not like we can just say to everybody, go out and get an N95 and it's going to work. If it's not fitted, it's almost like wearing a cloth mask.
What's funny is my face is so big, as you know, and as you've said many times, I probably couldn't wear one of these things ever. But nobody ever talks about what the 95 means. And if these particles are so small from COVID-19, and they are, and if they're just droplets and they're just, microns, as you were talking about, they're getting through anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, with the N95 is probably the best one, but again, it has to be fitted. And the surgical masks, they go like this.
Yeah.
So they're about 40 to 45% effective because you get outward flow on the sides, on down, and even up over your eyebrows. So
we're always playing with them anyway, right, Maria? I'm not a healthcare worker. If I put on a mask, and I've only worn one to fly because they make you, but I don't wear one at all any other time. I live in Texas. We don't have to. But when I had it on, I was constantly playing with it, man. And then I would pull it out because I couldn't breathe very well. It's really not effective other than the placebo effect, right? That the people feel, okay, suddenly we're now protected from this thing. When, as you said, we're really not, right?
We're really not. But this radical left-wing cult, I don't know what to call them, have made, I don't actually blame the people because they were fed lies and misinformation for so long that they actually believe they're doing the right thing. Remember, even the President of the United States, President Biden, said, if you don't wear a mask and you're claiming freedom, you could kill the next guy.
Literally said that. It's crazy.
Yeah, so people believe they're doing the right thing. I don't blame them. I'd like to educate with science and put up the research. I tried on a professional network. LinkedIn is supposed to be a professional.
It's a social meeting sort of gathering companies and professionals network. I'm on there. Yeah.
They censored me.
Really?
I put up research about masks and they took it down and said I violated their rules. And I wrote back, it doesn't do any good. But I said, I'm a provider trying to educate.
Right.
This is peer-reviewed research. Even our mecca of research journal and the best journal, the Journal of New England Medicine, said masks don't work.
Right.
February of 2022, finally, the CDC put up on their website that cloth masks are the least effective. They finally put that up there.
And also lockdowns weren't very effective either. Nice to find that out later. And also calling some people essential and some aren't essential didn't work either.
No.
None of that made any sense. Well, it's interesting that you bring up LinkedIn because you're not the only one. Dr. Malone has also been removed from LinkedIn. He wasn't just censored. They just got rid of him. He's the inventor of mRNA technology, as you know. He was on with Joe Rogan. That's why Neil Young and Peter Frampton, for God's sakes, are taking their music off of Spotify. You're right. You're a medical professional. You're a healthcare professional. I have you on here. A, I think that you're great. B, we're friends. C, great information. There's no reason to censor you because I don't know what you gain.
Right.
Maria, we always try to find out how does the person, if you're lying right now, which you're not, then you would have to be gaining something. There would have to be a reason for it. Nobody just nefariously makes stuff up and then goes on a radio or a TV show and spews that unless there's some reason. Now, I can give you 36 billion reasons why pharmaceutical companies might lie,
Right.
and I can do that and point to the money directly. I can tell you why Fauci would. I can tell you to hide what happened in Wuhan and gain a function. But why would you lie? Why would Malone lie? Why would Dr. Peter McCullough lie? Why would I lie about this if I've got 5 kids that I want to protect? Why would I lie? So, I mean, that's really what it is, right? Who are you going to believe is really the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're right. We all want to help our fellow man and give them the correct information. If they want to continue to wear a mask, that's great if it makes them feel better, as long as they know that it's not going to protect them from either getting or giving COVID. But I don't care if other people wear masks. I don't care if they get vaccinated. I do have a real concern vaccinating our children. I am very, very concerned about long-term effects on what the mRNA vaccines do. We don't know.
Fauci wants kids as young as 6 months old to get vaccinated. It doesn't make any sense. The survivability for kids, as you know, is 99.9982%. It doesn't make any sense to have anybody who doesn't have a comorbidity or some other issue going on to even consider the vaccine. But you're right. And kids, that's a different story. But if you're 18 or older and you want to wear a mask in America, God bless you. You want to wear a dress and you're a guy, I don't care. If you want to get the vaccine, fine. I'm 55. I'm healthy. I'm not vaccinated. I don't wear a mask. And I feel perfectly fine. If I die from COVID tomorrow, the haters watching can laugh at me. Fine. At the end of the day, it really is about free choice. And you said something earlier that was so important, but I think that I glossed over it, to be honest. You said guidelines. That's all these are. The FDA, the CDC, Fauci, the NIH, they're all just giving guidelines. They're not law. Mandates aren't even law, to be honest with you. These are just suggestions. These are recommendations. And then guess who gets to really make the strong diagnosis and recommendation? Dr. Maria does. Dr. Malone does. People who are healthcare professionals do. How do we turn that tide and make people understand what I just said and what you said earlier is true? These are guidelines. These are recommendations. These are, hey, why don't you try? And if you don't want to try, you don't have to.
The problem is we're so divided, right?
Yeah.
If somebody speaks differently than the medical advisors like Dr. Fauci advising the president and the teams, the health teams, you're seen as evil and you're taken down and you're canceled. Instead of, I always said, I led a hospital. I was the CEO of a hospital. And I said, whenever we're making big changes, I like diversity in thought. So even though we may be making some clinical decisions, depending on the issue, it's great to have a housekeeper come in on this meeting or somebody from the kitchen, because somebody from the outside may give you a different perspective. And if we listen to each other, we're going to have the best end product. And unfortunately, we didn't do this in this situation.
It's amazing. It's drmariaryan.com, drdrmariaryan.com. Watch and listen to her with Rudy on Rudy's Common Sense on is it Saturday or Sunday when you guys do it together on ABC?
Eastern time, and it's called Uncovering the Truth, and we are #1 on Sundays for Talk News.
I just love it. Just go and listen to it. You can listen to it online if you're not in New York. One last question before we let you go. There are thousands of people who are healthcare workers who are heroes, and then suddenly one day Kathy Hochul said you're all fired in New York State. It's disgusting that they're persecuting people for not getting vaccinated or whatever, bringing in National Guard who don't know the facility and they don't really know the patients as well. Right. Is there any hope with this being an election year and as bad as things are looking for Democrats that suddenly the science changes and all the healthcare workers can go back to work? I would love to see those men and women get back to work.
I am hopeful, and I think because it's election year, they may change, which is very unfortunate. They should have done this a while ago.
Right.
A lot of those nurses and healthcare workers have natural immunity. They got COVID while they were taking care of patients. So why fire them? It was so idiotic to fire, even if they didn't have natural immunity. We are in a healthcare worker shortage.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad, especially the nursing shortage. And to give away and throw away talent like that, I keep hearing story after story, negative stories about people's experiences in the hospitals
Right.
now. I'm really tied in with the hospital groups, and people aren't getting the care they should.
And oh, by the way, the CDC now admits that natural immunity is better than shot immunity. In fact, it could last as long as 20 months. Something, Maria, we should have known for 2 years, right?
Right, that's right. And again, when I was talking about natural immunity a year ago, and I'm sure many other providers as well, you got shut down, you got called names, you're a right-wing fanatic. It shouldn't have to do anything with your political affiliation, right? We're talking science.
And natural immunity, again, head and shoulders above shot immunity. And the guy who invented it, the guy who owns the patents, Dr. Robert Malone, has been saying that on my show for a year and a half. Natural immunity is head and shoulders above it. And he, the guy that made up the technology, says it's obscene to mandate it. I'll give you the last word because people love hearing from you and they love seeing you. And you're a very calming, soothing voice, which I think is amazing. Just give people, there are still people who are scared to death. I see people on message boards saying, I can't get my 2-year-old vaccinated yet and I really have to. What do I do? I mean, talk them off the ledge if you don't mind.
Yes, please, people, look at the knowledge we do have. And children may get COVID. Their mortality rate is almost zero.
Right.
That's how statistically it looks. Go about your daily living. Have fun in life. Enjoy your children. If you're immunocompromised, obese, or you're elderly, you need to take certain precautions.
Right.
But don't put yourself away. Exercise, eat fruits and vegetables, vitamin D, zinc, C. And you know what? When you get your mind straight and stop all that fear, you're going to feel better and you're going to realize that life is good. Life can go on.
Maria, very well said. Let's not wait so long next time. We'll have you back on very soon. drmariaryan.com, drmariaryan.com. Check her out it's Saturday morning on WABC with Rudy, right?
Sundays, 10 a.m.
Sunday, yeah.
Eastern Time, Uncovering the Truth, WABCRadio.com.
And you can listen on iHeartRadio. You can listen all over the place. Maria, thanks a million. Let's talk again soon, all right?
Very good, Joe. Thank you.
All right, we're back after this. Stay right here.